お前はもう死んでいる。何？
And welcome Duelist. This is Gamma from Team Omega Summon. Today here with our first deck profile. Yes, our first. Can you believe it? I certainly can't. And it will be of my current favorite deck, Ancient Gears. Yes, Ancient Gears, the big powerhouses. I love a deck like this, a deck that I can just mercilessly beat my opponents with. Isn't that just so much fun? But just for me at least. And Ancient Gears have become a great love of mine, and I love playing them, and I love their destructive capabilities, since aggro style is kind of my style. So without further ado, you guys, let's get into the deck profile. Of course, we'll first start with the main deck, and that is first 2 copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. Its first effects are something you almost never go into unless you have to resort to tribute summoning for whatever reason. But their effects basically state if you tribute a gadget monster or an Ancient Gear monster, you get variant effects. One of those is either dealing piercing damage or being able to attack twice. Now its other effect states that when it attacks, you can destroy a spell or trap card, which means that you can either pop your own gear down, aka self-terrorizing, or you can pop an opponent's problematic back row for whatever that may be. Fortunately, you have the ability to pop your own gear down, which of course you can use to summon another Ancient Gear monster to go in for more damage. So I recommend 2 of this. You can play 1 if you want, but I prefer 2. Then, of course, the big powerhouse, the big monster, Ancient Gear Golem! Yes, of course, we already know what this guy does. And his little brother, Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. I play 1 Ultimate Pound, mostly for diversity reasons, but it's perfectly fine to run just a whole playset of Ancient Gear Golems. I mean, Ancient Gear Golem honestly is the best card in the deck, which allows for, of course, many of the great fusion cards that we all come to know and love, especially with the new support that's out. I would definitely recommend, of course, playing it 2. I used to play it at 1, but I now play it at 2 because that's much better. Ultimate Pound doesn't really do that much, in my opinion. It's still good on its own, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend playing more than 1. Then, of course, the Searcher, 3 copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. Very simple. When normal or special summons, you can add 1 Ancient Gear card from your deck to your hand, but you cannot set any cards the turn you use this effect. And of course its other effect that when it attacks your opponent monster's effect cannot be activated. Yeah, that makes things feel pretty simple and to understand. Just a generic Searcher, it's probably one of the best cards that you could play in this deck. If you're not playing 3 of this, then you're not playing this deck right. You don't do this deck justice at all. Then, another 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound, a polymerization on legs with the ability to deal 600% damage upon normal summoning, allows you to fusion summon from both the field and the hand. A great card, absolutely great. You usually go into Howitzer with this. You don't really go into your big fusions with this because you want to go for swing for more damage. But it's the first turn card. If you can't really do much in your first turn and you have this and another Ancient Gear in your hand, you can go for a Howitzer play and just deal 1600 in the first turn. That's what I mostly do because while this deck is powerful and can beat your opponent mercilessly into the ground, it also is prone to bricking, and bricking, oh it does, believe me. So at least 3 copies of Hunting Hound. Then the 1 copy of Ancient Gear Box. I only play 1 copy because I don't feel the reason to play more than 1 because that really gets cloggy. So 1, and when he's added to your hand, you never want to draw into this because its effect says that when you add it to your hand by ways other than drawing it, you can add a machine type monster with 500 attack or defense to your hand, and those are the targets here. 2 copies of Ancient Gear Frame. You can play 3 copies if you want. I just prefer 2 because I don't feel the reason. I so don't see the need to play more than 2. Its effect is actually pretty simple. When you can discard a card and then add 1 Ancient Gear Golem or a card with Ancient Gear Golem in the text to your hand. So you can add Ancient Gear Golem or the new fusion card Ancient Gear Fusion to this with your hand. And this is of course the target you can add with Box. Also, when it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can summon 3 Ancient Gear Golem and or Ultimate Pound from your graveyard in order to summoning condition, but that effect almost never goes off, and that is just such a shame. You know, there's a very rare chance you'll get that effect off. So that's it for the Ancient Gear lineup, you guys. Now up to a different lineup, a small engine. 3 Kaijus, 1 Garara, 2 Kamangas, because I can't afford a Gamma Seal. Just a standard engine. If you play a Kaiju, you never play anything that's more powerful, of course. Well, that's just obvious than the Ancient Gears. So nothing more than 300 attack, no Dogoran, no Jizakura, but these are the Kaijus I had, and I feel like they're just perfect. I also play Kaiju Slumber into this, and of course, in problematic decks with cards you can't beat over, like I used it against Vierkreuz, against mobile base, which is hard to get over. It really saved me. So I just thought I'd make it a bit more consistent with cards such as this. And then the final for the monster line of 3 copies of a Swift Scarecrow. Why do I play Swift Scarecrow in this deck? It's actually really simple. This deck is prone to bricking really bad, and this card saved my ass more times than I can count. It's a very good card. You could play Bellevader if you want, but that leaves you with a monster, and if you have like Gear Town or Fortress on the field and you draw it to Catapult, you can't use it because you have a monster on the field. So Swift Scarecrow is, in my eyes, the better alternative. Bellevader is an option, of course, if you have Gear Town and you want to tribute someone, but that's not preferable, so I go for Swift Scarecrow because sometimes I have literally no field, no monsters to protect me, so this card saves my ass more times than I can possibly wish for. Now up to the spell cards. We play, of course, 3 copies of Ancient Gear Catapult, that added with 3 copies of Gear Town and 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. Now, Ancient Gear Fortress is a very powerful card. Fortress basically says that on the turn that Ancient Gear monsters are normal summoned, they cannot be destroyed by card effects, they cannot be targeted by card effects, and your opponent cannot activate anything in response to their effects. So if you have this on the field and you summon Wyvern or Hunting Hound, for example, your opponent cannot chain to that effect. Then, of course, Gear Town. Yeah, of course, Gear Town is pretty standard as far as Gear Town goes. When it's just, you can summon Ancient Gear monsters with 1 less tribute, and when it's destroyed, you can summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck. And there comes Catapult to play, easily the most powerful spell cards in this entire deck. When you control no monsters, destroy one of your spell or facial spell trap cards, and then special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring the summoning condition. So you means you can summon anything. You can summon Ultimate Pound, you can summon Go. Preferably you go into Ancient Gear Golem more often than not. And then, of course, go with Gear Town lets you 2 monsters, which of course can you search into your Wyvern or into your Reactor Dragon or whatever you want. So this combo is just great. I just only play 2 Fortress because that's really all I need. You can play 3 if you want, but yeah, you don't really need much more than that, in my opinion. Then 2 copies of Terraforming to search your Gear Town. You can play 3 if you want, but I thought 3 was a little bit too cloggy because I kept drawing into it while I already had my Gear Towns either used or... yeah, and it can become essentially a dead card. At 3 it can become a dead card, so 2 is just fine. 2 copies of Power Bond. Yeah, Power Bond. If you summon this Chaos Insignia Giant with this card, your opponent might just scoop up the entire match because there's nothing stopping it. Such raw power and such incredible power, and mostly often you don't die from its effect. So 2 Power Bonds. Then, of course, the fusion card of the deck, Ancient Gear Fusion. What's so great about this card? Now, let me tell you. Because when you have Ancient Gear Golem or Ultimate Pound on the grave, you can use fusion materials from your deck. And usually you will use that to go into the new big boss monster, Ancient Gear Megaton Golem. So this card is just very, very good. It's a 2-of, don't freeze like necessary. You can search it either with Gearframe, you can search it with Wyvern. This card is so powerful and it's very pricey, that's unfortunate. But you could still consider it budget with how cheap the Ancient Gear cards are. With maybe the exception of this card, are also budget as can be. So yeah, 2 fusions, 2 power bonds, and we have more fusion options in the form of Hunting Hound. So there's no shortage of fusion options in this deck. Then for the rest of the spells, one Monster Reborn, you know, because it's Monster Reborn, we can finally have it back. Overload Fusion to go into Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This card, if you draw this, then the heart of the cards with you. Raigeki for Field Wipes, Interrupted Kaiju Summoners for the Kaiju plays, and Limiter Removal because doubling that attack points for extra damage is always so great. And then finally for the 1 trap card, I play 1 Ancient Gear Reborn. There should be more trap cards later. There's a certain card that comes out that could really help the deck, but this is what I go for. 1 Reborn is just enough. You barely go into it, but it's just there. You never know when you need it to save your life. Next up, we go on to the extra deck, and for the extra deck we play first 2 copies of the biggest, baddest monster in town, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This monstrosity is my favorite card in the deck, and when you get it on your field, your opponent might as well just scoop the match up and way before they can pound on by this ginormous behemoth. Of course, it requires 4 Ancient Gear monsters and must be fusion summons. It cannot be special summoned by other ways. Spell unaffected by the effects of spells and trap cards. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects when it card attacks. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls, and when it attacks a defense monster, it deals piercing damage. And summon this with Power Bond, because Power Bond does work on him. Yeah, that monster, this comes on 9,000 Peter that your opponent can't stop with spells or traps. And it's unaffected by monster effects when it attacks. So, yeah. Bring this monster out, you better win. You better win, boy. 2 copies of the OG fusion monster for Ancient Gears, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Why do I play 2? Well, because I can fuse summon into it if I need to, and of course with the addition of Ancient Gear Megaton Golem, this card can be summoned. Why? Well, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem is pretty simple. 1 Ancient Gear Golem plus 2 Ancient Gear monsters, and when it deals piercing damage with attacks, standard Ancient Gear effects, and of course don't forget when it's destroyed you can summon Ancient Gear Golem from your grave to ignore the summoning conditions. But Megaton makes this deck all the more better. Why is that? Why does Megaton make it so much better? Well, very simple. Very simple to explain. It summons using 3 Ancient Gear monsters. For every Ancient Gear Golem or Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Bound that was used to fuse and summon this card can attack a number of that time. So if you use 2 Ancient Gear Golems and an Ultimate Bound or any of that ratio, this card can attack 3 times. And when it leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, so Kaiju, Dark Hole, you name it, whenever it just leaves the field because of a card effect, you can special summon Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from your extra deck. Now isn't that just power? That is power if I ever saw it. Then 2 copies of Ancient Gear Howitzer. Howitzer is basically 2 Ancient Gear monsters unaffected by all card effects. So yeah, you can't. The only way to get rid of it is either tribute over it by using a Kaiju, or destroying it by battle. And when it's destroyed by battle, you can special summon one Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring the summoning condition. So it can be anything. Also, once per turn it can deal 1000 points of damage. Just a 2 off, you don't need to be any more than 2. And then for the last fusion, Parapsychroid. It's just a fun little tech card because you can use it with Power Bond, make it 3200, and then you can attack directly. So in the case you need that, you will never know when you need it, but I don't know, it just sounded very appealing in my opinion. Just a fun little tech. Then for the XYZs, 1 True King of All Calamities, a great card to stop your opponent dragging a track, made with 2 reactor dragons. You barely go into this card, but you never know when you need it. Rank 4 is a bit more prevalent. Gear Gigant X, which allows you to summon for 2 XYZs summon for a level 4 or lower machine type monster in your deck or in your graveyard. 1 number 41 Bagushka to stop your opponent in case you need to buy yourself more time. And then the Utopia lineup with number 39 and Shine and Utopia the Lightning, just to get over big monsters. And then finally the 2 Link monsters, 1 Clifford Genius and 1 Mrs. Radiant. Yeah, Clifford Genius is a fact you can barely get off, but it's a very powerful card, and in machine-based decks this is a perfect Link monster. And Mrs. Radiant for that extra boost in case you need it. So that was it, you guys. That was my Ancient Gear deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what kind of content you want to see more in this video. Me and my team are working very hard. We have a very cool amount of videos coming up, but it's taking some time, so please bear with us. But after all, thank you guys for watching this channel. I really hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you would like to see more and we'll take it into consideration. Now, praise the Omega and have a great day.